thank you for coming out and welcome. Just a couple of introductory remarks. We're certainly getting into the beginning of school. On the 2nd of September, we'll be visiting the schools as we do every year, just to check for any problems that might occur. We walk through each of the buildings from west all the way down to Toledo. It takes us a good part of the day, and we just inquire with the custodian, the respective custodian of the building, about any issues that might happen, to check the cleanliness, and basically we just check for readiness. It's just a real kind of a traditional thing that we do. That'll be on the 2nd of September. This morning we had orientation for new teachers. I guess under the direction of Dr. O'Malley. It was nice to see young new teachers ready to have at it to begin their careers. And just a question in terms of just protocol. In the event that you customarily have not attended a meeting, a school board meeting, we'll be talking about the school opening plan. And judging by the last meeting, it's a controversial topic. But just to preserve decorum, I just want to remind everybody that regardless of your perspective or the perspective of the person who might be speaking, there's no cheering, there's no booing. This isn't a baseball game or an athletic contest or a Broadway show. We respect everybody's opinion. Everybody has a right to speak, and if you choose to speak, you'll come to the mic. You'll be given 3 minutes. You'll be timed. You don't have to use all 3 minutes, but after 3 minutes, we'll hear a little click. And I'll try to be respectful and say, could you please bring it to a close? Could you please summarize? So we're hoping that the decorum is preserved. We haven't had any problems in the past. We don't expect to have it in the future. And at this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the superintendent of schools.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. So as Dr. Ryan said, tonight, as promised, we will present our outline of our school reopening plan. I'm sure that you heard today that the governor has announced mandates for masks in schools, and that she will be providing some additional guidance within before the end of the week, so some of this may have to be revised. But I wanted to just let you know, and definitely know you can just go to the next slide, that we truly did listen to our community and tried to really wrestle with this. For those of you who think this is an easy decision, that is not true. Our goal this year is to provide our students with as joyful, exciting, as normal a year possible, but also to follow health and safety guidelines. So to balance those two equally good goals is really our major focus in developing this plan. Just to walk through briefly the decision-making process, we consulted with stakeholder groups, we did a parent survey, we had discussions with our community leaders, and we did hold an initial public listening session on August 10th, and then we were here at that session. We sought advice from public health experts, not political leaders, not other school leaders, I didn't go to medical school, but local pediatricians and local public health, local and broader public health organizations. We read and discussed opinions and studies cited by both sides of the mask conversation. And I can tell you that I emailed some of those studies to the Board of Education, both sides. And then finally tonight, we'll make, I'll make a recommendation on behalf of the administrative team to the Board of Ed. The board will have some comment, the opportunity will be presented to the public to comment, and the board will decide either to adopt or modify that plan. Some additional data that we looked at in our decision-making process. Right now, the Nassau County positivity rate is just about 4% and has been rising in the past few weeks. The positivity rate in Long Beach among ages 5 to 17, so school-age children, was 9% last week. And that data is available on the state COVID report card, school COVID report card. 31 children from this age group from our district have tested positive over the last 14 days. And that's a large number. I can tell you that even in January, which is probably our biggest month, we did have 31 children on 14 days. And if you're in school, that translates to more than 150 students who would have had to be quarantined if we were not masked. Our key points in terms of our reopening, we want all students full-time in-person learning. We all know the cost to our kids of being out of school, interrupted school, hybrid school, quarantine school last year. We all know that. We want them full-time in person as much as possible. We will make sure that instructional spaces have a minimum of 3 feet between desks. And each building will develop lunch plans to maximize social distancing at lunch when students need to be a little further apart. We intend to have all sports and extracurricular activities return. We look forward to welcoming our PTA back to our buildings, and we intend to maximize outdoor time. We used outdoor time last year to a great benefit, especially in the spring, and we're going to maximize that even more, including at least 2 outdoor breaks per day for elementary students and at least 1 for secondary. Of course, it was a day like yesterday and the day before came out. The district will provide clear masks for all speech and literacy classes. All field trips will return, except in the venue events because of their restrictions. We will continue all the testing quarantine protocols. We will continue to report positive cases to mask and health department and to notify parents. We will not require masks in any outdoor spaces, and although because no social distancing will happen on buses, masks are required on buses. We also have arranged once again for before and after care at every elementary building to keep students from overs. I also think we'd like to continue that permanently. I think parents found it more comfortable and more convenient when students would have to bus for before and after care. So we will be requiring masks indoors and on buses. And I want to just go over with you our line. The first really key point that helped us to make this decision is that it is the recommendation of nearly all public health and medical groups. Nearly all. And I have a quote on the slide from the executive director of the local American Academy of Pediatrics who said this to me, that it's rare to have consensus among all medical groups, and it's really difficult to dismiss that consensus, especially by those of us who are not medical professionals. We want our students in school is the second equal attendance. With students sitting 3 feet apart and universal masking, we do not have to quarantine asymptomatic close contacts. We do not have to send kids home if they are both masked. And finally, and this was put together before the announcement today, we had gotten notice a few days ago that the new governor would likely institute mask mandate, but we intended to let you know this tonight anyways, to give parents notice to think about their options. And of course, we heard today that that mask mandates in place. Some parents may ask, what happens if I do not agree to let my child wear a mask in school? We are not interested in standoffs with families. We understand that there are strong feelings and emotions and passions on both sides of this. If parents decide to keep their children home or not to comply with the mask mandate, the children will be offered 2 hours a day of remote instruction, an alternate instructional program. Parents, of course, always have the option to homeschool, but the district will provide that to the families who elect to not follow the directive or to keep their students home. Again, I want to reiterate that you may or may not like what I presented tonight. I understand that. I want you to know that many sleepless nights among this whole team went into this presentation, and that at the end of the day, whether you agree with us or not, what we have come to recommend tonight is what we truly believe is best for children. That is the only thing that motivates us. Other than that, I'll take board comments.
First the board.
Any board of comments? Rachel?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gallagher, for presenting that. I do appreciate all the hard work the administrative team put together. I know as a collective board, we had to come together and work on this, and we respect each other's values, but the board has come to a consensus alongside the administrative team. I just want to reiterate the importance of how we're going to be taking protective measures, and the objective of us to have as many kids in school as possible. But at the same time, we're going to maximize what we're allowed to do with the guidelines. If we can, outside space, really emphasize the fact that we want to get the kids outside space, social distance, if possible, with mask breaks as much as they can be. I have 3 young kids in the elementary school program, and while it hasn't been an issue for them to be masked, it doesn't bother them as much as it could bother others. I want them to see other smiling faces, and I know that as we want to work together to make sure that the kids can work together in safe environments. And I know that's a big part of our plan, and I just want to make sure that's emphasized in the presentation. And also, we're following the trends. I know we wrote a letter in July that, based on the circumstances and the climate of the, exposure and the infection rates and the spread, we wanted to have no masks on this year if possible. Obviously, things change. We haven't flowed as those signs and trending and state guidance. So are we going to revisit this if things change? Well,
Yes, I'm sorry, I skipped the last slide, I was taking your copies of the presentation this year. This is by no means a decision for the entire year. We will reevaluate this periodically. First of all, obviously, the guidance changes, but even as, if the infection rate continues to drop, if more students, younger students have the possibility of being vaccinated, we very much see this as a fluid decision and something that all of us would like to see the guidance where we can safely take our mask off. And that we will, look for that.
Any other board comments? Okay, we'll open it up to the public. If you did come late, just a reminder, we will give your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes, and please refrain from any kind of laws or bullying or whatever. Respect for everybody's ability to speak.
Sean Hayden, 301 West Hudson Street. Just a couple of questions. One, you guys will take a vote on it. If so, I would like to see those results. Who voted which way?
The vote will actually happen after the public comment.
Oh, this is okay. Yeah. Second is you put a survey out. I'd like to see those.
Yeah, I will send the survey results home with the plan tomorrow.
Why wasn't that presented then? I think that's what you said. You're following all these guidelines. The community of where we live should be what we should be looking at. Enough.
I mean, I don't think it would have changed anything.
I obviously want to change everything. You guys gave me mine 2 weeks ago. So, third thing, I'm told 2 weeks ago I was here, not one of you wore a mask. You're all puppets. Puppets. You're all different gear. You put on your mask all of a sudden tonight. Why? Why not 2 weeks ago? No one cares yet, because you're puppets. You're just doing it because of fear. You're doing it because of fear. Doing it because of fear. You guys had no problem 2 weeks ago not wearing masks up there. All of you have masks on right now. But fear. Our kids should not be wearing masks in school. It should be our choice. Not yours, not the CDC's, nobody's. My choice. This is ridiculous. Agreed. Ridiculous.
Once again, if you're gonna,
Listen, I don't care about you.
if you don't abide by protocol, security will escort you out. If security has a problem with it,
You guys are a joke.
and the police will suspend the meeting.
You're a joke.
Please, you make your point.
I'm leaving anyway. You guys are a
Thank
joke.
you, thank you very much. Next. Name and address, please.
Hi, Kim, Dorgan. Heather Pasio, 636 East Park. I just was curious. I know that you said all activity is going to go back to normal. So concerts, will they be indoors?
We haven't made a decision on that yet. Some of them work well at first, so you may look at which one was better towards the end.
Okay, and then I guess, what about as far as the drama and the musical? Will those be taking place as well?
Yes,
Will those be masked? Because, but before you answer that, I am not going to debate. The state says what it says. I have no problem following, agree, disagree, whatever. But if the children are vaccinated and or tested weekly, like we did with sports last year, I would like to please make sure that they do these shows unmasked. And
I agree, we'd like to do that.
okay, I just want to, I know you guys are discussing it and conversating, and I'm going to make sure that my concern regarding the musical, again, it isn't equity of sports and other things, will be brought up at every meeting, so if I sound repetitive, I don't mean to be, I do it to keep it fresh in everybody's mind.
Thank you, Councilman, thank you. Thanks.
I'm sorry I didn't get to hear most of what you said. But watching the news today, as everybody is, and it seems that everything on here is mute because the governor, new governor, who's in and says, everybody will wear a mask. Now, I'm not opinionated. I haven't had all the wear a mask. I had all 3 vaccinations. I think that I really think that everybody should have a choice, but it seems like you're not going to have a choice. It's a rule, and they're going to fine and everything else. So I don't know what you said before, but I'm interested in how you feel about that.
Well, I think you made a good point that some of this is because the government is mandating it. But what we feel is that choice and public health are difficult things to balance. So we let it go.
So we're in for a fight.
Well, I don't know if we're in for a fight, but in terms of, we could have waited for the governor to make a statement that we felt we had a responsibility after the August 10th meeting to take a vote, a public vote here tonight, which we tend to do. But of all the comments that you might have missed on the 10th, I think the most provocative was the statement made by one of the last speakers. And he said, no, this is a medical decision and it should be made by medical experts at the state level, not by local municipalities, not by board of education. But everybody is sort of confident that it is our decision and we're making that decision tonight. We thank you for coming out. I'm just going to ask you, we still have time, if you just give your name and address, sir, please.
My name is Michael Eddy, 16 Louisiana Street.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out.
My name is Sean Westbeach. My address is 428 West Market. I appreciate the gravity and the difficulty of the decision making that you have to go through. I don't want to sit in a seat where people come up here and yell at me. I'm also concerned that we're talking about 31 cases in Long Beach right now, and we haven't been told how many cases it will be before we can take the masks off. Before we respond to that, I understand that you may have your hands tied by the government. I think that it's reasonable for us to ask if you have metrics by which masks go on. You also spell out metrics by which masks come off. My other concern is that this is a slippery slope. We end up putting masks on our kids every flu season, every cold season, and eventually our kids have to wear masks to go out anywhere that they want to go. It's well documented that wearing masks is going to reduce our young children, especially I have a 2, 4, and 6-year-old, their ability to develop in terms of how they read facial language and communication. I believe we're setting our kids up for anxiety, we're setting them up for fear, and we don't have reasonable ways to say when the mask comes off. That's unacceptable. Secondarily, I'm concerned that this is a slippery slope to a vaccination. That my kids have all the necessary vaccinations to come to school. They've been tested. These vaccines have been tested. I am vaccinated from COVID. But I don't think it's necessary to vaccinate children from something that is not proven to be dangerous for children. And it does not have long-term efficacy studies done. I just wanted to make sure I said that. I would love to hear from you how we know when the masks come off, because it seems you have a measure for when they go on. And those mandates may be lifted in the middle of September. I would love to know what your plan is and the ball's in your court. I appreciate it.
It's going to be up to the individuals to approach the mic. There's no standing line, so if you see it's empty and you're going to speak, please approach it. Thank you.
I apologize, are you guys going to be able to answer the question of when the masks come off by measure?
I think
I think we need a dialogue.
that's one of the, I agree with all of your points. There are points that we've all wrestled with, that we've had some issues. And I can tell you that the county superintendent's group has pushed the health department. I can't go to that. I am not an epidemiologist. But the Suffolk County Health Department has worked with the districts to develop a metric. So we will be pushing Nassau County now to develop a metric, at which point it would be state. And it would go by the county numbers, not by Long Beach specifically. I just raised that as part of the data we were looking at to decide what to do here. But I agree with you, we need that metric and we need it soon so that we know what our goal is.
I would just love to press you that if you don't get that, then we form our own list.
If we can, I'd be willing to do that. We looked at the Suffolk County metric, we decided we should wait and let the event professionals.
We've been doing this for 18 months. I know a lot of.
Charlie, now that the mic will have a chance to speak. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Scott Coleman, 363 Beach Street. This is my first, I've been to a few events now in the last 18 months, just as things have kind of spiraled out of control more recently. As far as I can tell, you all seem like nice, reasonable people, not like the viral videos we see, so I'll be respectful too. But I wanted to say I have, my sister was the head of the curve on this one because my niece, without going into huge detail, suffered from encephalitis a few years ago, and when Governor Cuomo had mandated some of these vaccines, my sister had to pull her out of school because my niece has some vulnerabilities, and this was the vaccine schedule was treated like a one-size-fits-all. Now you fast forward to what's happened here, and this is sort of that issue on steroids, where you're mandating, not you specifically, but you see what's happening with the vaccines, how they're being mandated everywhere. And I'm not gonna, just without going into specific anecdotes, but I do know for a fact, and I think most people here have talked to people who have had very adverse reactions to these vaccines. And these are grown, fully healthy adults. So when you talk about people like my niece, very vulnerable 12-year-old and other kids, these are things that need to be considered. And, when you talk, and it's the same thing with the masks, it's not as severe because at least with the masks, you can take them off, you can debate, maybe compromise, but, the vaccines, there's no turning back. But regarding the health of the students, I'm concerned because I remember what it was like to be a kid, and again, without going too much into the story, I remember feelings of neuroses and paranoia. I mean, it took a lot of therapy to get through that, and I see kids now, and they're freaking out. They're all, it's like we're raising a whole generation of how God bless him, he's hilarious, but he's had some very serious OCD, and you see the kids, I mean, I'll be jogging down the street, and they take a couple of steps back, I'm outside, it's a nice weather, but they see me not wearing a mask. Of course I'm not wearing a mask, I'm jogging, I don't want to pass out like that poor girl at Oregon, and this kid's instinct was to back up. We're seeing a lot of that now with these kids. I'm deeply concerned about that, and I think that as we talk, as we go forward with this, and you're talking to people at the state level, but listening to some of these parents, I mean, these are real concerns, and I'm concerned just in a general sense that the parents input, the thousands, millions, whatever it is in the New York area, are not getting the same consideration that these department heads, these handful of doctors, and health officials, quite honestly, have gone back and forth. I mean, we've seen this repeatedly. So I just want to make a general comment that I think that the parents' voices need to be heard. It's not a right-wing talking point to say these kids are having a lot of issues, and these kinds of situations need to be considered on a case-by-case basis. Thank you.
And more intimidated. I was not intended to speak. I had a feeling about 2 hours ago, so I barely can speak. And my face like it's falling off. But I had to get over here, say a couple things, and pose a few questions. As Sean said, I empathize with all of you for having to carry this weight put on your shoulders. In the emails I've sent to you, I think that it's not, health decisions are not, should not be up to our government and should not be up to our educators. We voted for you guys to focus on the education of the well-being as students in your buildings, and that's where it should stop. As parents, we should be making decisions for our children's health, period. I am curious that I think as of today, there are 4 other four other really large districts in Long Island that are doing mask adoption. So were they consulting other bodies of experts? Where did they base this information on that led you to a different decision from bodies of experts? Because I'm pretty sure they follow the same processes. That's just question 1 before I get any questions. We are also, I have a 16-year-old in the Long Beach elementary high school. And I loved every minute of it in your school system. I know a lot of you from that experience. My 4-year-old would go into Big Can Fall and I'm homeschooled. The overreach from Albany down really makes me nervous as a parent. I'm going to take education into my own hands, and I guarantee you there are dozens, if not maybe hundreds of people in this district who are going to do the same in homeschool. If you haven't got letters of intent yet, you will. And they've also left the state for the same reason, because when they go to a place that values the input of the parents more than you apparently seem to do, at least in this process.
So, I cannot speak for how other districts make their decisions, but I suspect, just from talking to other superintendents, that, I'm sorry, their community, our community was split. This is not a universal feeling. Their community may have had stronger feelings on the other side, or their board of education may have had stronger feelings on the other side. But I can't speak for how their decisions were made. In terms of your second question, with homeschooling, and that is of course the parents' right. I don't know. I respect your right to do that, Rachel.
Of course, it's the parents' right, but it is also a huge impact on the jobs of all the teachers in this community. Board budget year after year, real decrease with children leaving, and a lot of them are going to leave for this very reason. I hope you understand that. That's all my points. I'm really bummed. This is 350 give or take children have died. Not one should die. But that's a very small number on a national level for something that is having this much of an impact on our children's daily lives. We should not be masked in school. And I hope that some people up there vote against this plan.
I'm Danielle Carr, Freeport Avenue, Point Lookout, New York. I just want to thank you for this plan. I think it's thorough. I think we're trying to don't, as everyone already said, you don't have to do that, if you have been under to you, it's not a decision probably that has needed to come down to the board, but now that the governor's made a decision, I appreciate that you guys came in front of this too, and you did have this conversation, and you didn't wait for the mandate that was gonna happen. I think a lot of the points in here are really acceptable, and I want to sort of counter, there's a lot of people who would probably homeschool their kids if masks were optional, or if masks were not happening. So I know there's a very vocal anti-mask conversation that's been happening, it's been spreading across Long Island. That doesn't mean that there aren't just as many champions, or not champions, but people who are understanding the science and are hoping that their kids can keep a regular in school as much as possible, and we see that masks are happening. I think the question that we've had a lot of conversations have been happening, I'd love, because it doesn't say here, and I've emailed you guys about this, knowing also how our facilities are gonna get upgraded, or have already been upgraded when it comes to filters or breathability. I think that masks are right now the solution that we have, because half the people aren't vaccinated, half kids can't be vaccinated, and then obviously if there's a choice level, there's no mandatory vaccination. But knowing that the issue with masks that most people seem to have is the breathability of them, especially with young children. What are we doing from the school? A lot of schools in our system are older, so what are the things that we're doing? I think that might be helpful to just understand. I just want to thank you all for your time and having to hear from all of us. So, like myself, you nonstop. Thank you.
So just a quick response to the question on ventilation. Last year, we upgraded our ventilation systems across the district so that we met the standard epidemiologists for air circulation. Now, that doesn't mean it's full, as we know right now, tonight, but all of our buildings were compliant with all the regulations. And that involves sometimes changing out air filters or mentioning. And we are again doing that this year, even more so. We have a long-range plan to air conditioning all of them. As soon as we pay off some of them aren't that currently occurring. But for now, our ventilation systems are all currently upgraded and compliant with the highest regulations.
And I know that there's some teachers who start bringing in like heat filters into like little filters into their, is that not recommended or is that not useful?
It's not useful, to be honest, yeah.
And one last question. We're talking about keeping the kids outside as much as possible. I know that there's been some conversations, a lot of us are having to where there's activities that are outside that aren't probably as much touching, like, playing around or whatever, but there's other things that you do, like learning how to garden or these things that are like more active outside. I feel like they're beneficial.
Okay, that was up there, thank you.
Nick Calabrese, 751 West Penn Street. So I am very much so mask optional. I do not think that's healthy for our children to be wearing masks in school. I think that they've dealt enough with it over the last 2 years. So I do think she raised an interesting question, and the question that I want to follow up on now, I have 3 kids in school, 2 of which are, one of which is in high school and 2 of which are going to be in Long Beach Middle School. We have all this property in Long Beach Middle School and all this property in Long Beach High School. Can we create an environment where they're at the very least, they're taking classes and they can get outdoors so these kids don't have to wear these masks all the time? Can we at least do that?
Absolutely, that's
That would
right,
be great.
right.
Sir, will you have a chance when you get?
I'm sorry, does that mean that they will be able to take their masks off outside?
Yes. it's
Okay.
in there. Yeah.
So if we can organize as a community and be able to find out any which way, the most popular or effective way that our children like to be outdoors without the masks as much as possible, I think that would be very beneficial for everyone. That's what I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Ryan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I got here a little bit late.
The name and address, sir, please.
Jamie Mangles, 517 West Beach Street.
Thank you.
I got here a little bit late, but I guess I can see what the answer is, and as you guys come in, you're all costumed up with your masks. But 2 weeks ago, it was fine. We could hang out, everybody was no problem. There was no crazy stuff going on with the microphone. but today it's COVID time. This is crazy hypocrisy at the greatest degree. And you guys have master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, you got your doctor's titles, and for all the intelligence that should be on this committee, this board, I think you've lost all your common sense. I mean, today's meeting, actually, after we get to speak and get disregarded like yesterday's trash, you guys are going to talk about discrimination and harassment in the schools, correct? That's on the agenda for today? Okay. It's pretty ironic that this very subject is what we're doing to half the children and families planning on returning in just a couple of weeks. You know, I emailed Dr. Gallagher after the first meeting, just to follow up on what she thought of the comments, the opinions. She said she was tossing and turning all night. I've been tossing and turning and losing countless hours of sleep and my time studying, researching, reading peer review. When was the last time any of you read a peer-reviewed doctor's study on the opposite of what you're going with? Have any of you put in the hours? Okay, so then you have to admit we're not crazy people. Okay? You said it yourself that the survey, the opinions, were split down in the middle, 50-50. So why are we being, hurried out like the opinions don't count? All we're doing is getting lip service. We've been getting lip service for 18 months from the same people that you guys are basing your decisions on. You're disregarding your responsibility to your positions and assuming no liability like the vaccine companies by putting the responsibilities on nameless faces that don't mean anything to us. We're the people that you have to answer to, that we have to work together with. And we're being fear tactics beyond belief. People are out of their minds. And I get it if people want to wear masks, if they want to get the vaccine. But who in their right mind is going to take the decision to raise their kids and decide what is done to their kids? Who's going to take that laying down? Do you really think that something is not going to happen catastrophic here? Do you think that, we'll just let a couple homeschoolers come out of the school district like you did when you completely admonished us with the religious and medical exemptions, making that an absolute catastrophe to even try and get. My son had epilepsy. I had to jump through hoops to get a medical exemption, and I was still denied by our local doctor.
Sure, time is up, so you can conclude.
My point is, I'm just going to finish up. Don't think that desperate parents won't do desperate things. If you're okay with us homeschooling, fine. When we take our $6,000 to $8,000 school taxes every year, and we take that with us, and we multiply that by 100,000, you're going to be looking at quite a big difference with your decisions.
I just wanted to respond to one thing you said, if I might. I don't think anybody up here considers anybody on this side crazy. That's never been articulated. We certainly respect your opinions, if we don't support it. Doesn't mean, speaking for myself, I think I can speak for the other trustees, nobody thinks any parent comes out that the kids for their kids crazy.
But the charade that you put on is a joke, and it's a disgrace to our
You just
intelligence.
have 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
But is it not a bit of a laugh?
Sure, you made your point.
Circus here? You guys want to get all messed up
You made your
today?
point.
And yesterday was fine. Everybody's hanging out on the beach,
Thank you very much. Sure.
Thank you. This is the second time I've spoken. My name is Brian DiMicola, 71. Never been involved with something like this in my life. I spoke to the 55-minute mark on the last Board of Ed meeting. I presented some CDC data that apparently somebody said it was incorrect that I said. So I looked at it again today. So I just want to reiterate data. I'm a financial person. This is what the data says. Since 2 weeks ago, COVID deaths of 0 to 17, this is on the CDC website, increased by 12 to 361. and pneumonia deaths, non-COVID related, increased by 23 to 865. There's a pattern there, and it's called pneumonia doubled, again, not COVID, for our children. 477 pediatric deaths were in the 2018-2019 season. This is truth. It's on the CDC website that we all agree is the truth, right? Do we not? Did anybody look this up? Yeah, not many yeses. Kind of yeses after I said it.
I did not.
No, we didn't. That's bizarre. All of a sudden, we are so concerned about the health of our children. Yet we feed them soda, candy, crap. 80% of these children that died of obesity was the comorbidity. So basically, 75 kids in our entire country would have died from COVID. These are facts on the CDC website. Look them up. Nobody else did. That's what's infuriating to me. This is preventable. It's very preventable. So what we do is we put masks on our kids. The suicide rate goes up. The addiction rate goes up. And it outweighs what we're trying to gain. What are we doing? It's so silly. It is that easy. I'm not saying kids can't get sick. I'm not saying adults can't get sick. My kids went to Ninja Warrior class for the last year with no mask and 100 kids jumping on top of them. Yet they go to school with a mask on, at a desk, sitting by themselves. Does that make any sense to any logical human being? Our peer nations that had insane lockdowns, UK, Ireland, all Scandinavia, France, Netherlands, Switzerland, Italy, severe lockdowns. All their kids went to school with no mask. Why? Because there's no issue. Why is there no COVID vaccine mandate for kids below 12? Why? Because there's no emergency mandate. Because there is no emergency. They're fine. They may get sick, but they're fine. They'll get through it. But just look at the data. This is just simply data. This is not hard to figure out. And if this was polio, give them a shot tomorrow. This is not polio. This is an illness that they may or may not get. But to force our kids to wear masks is ridiculous to me at this point. They need to see each other's faces. My 6-year-old needs to see her speech teacher tell her what the noise is in the mouth. She can't, so she's going backwards. Why? Because decisions that the school board and the government's making. We don't need to do that. We can be stronger than that. We're adults. Let our kids live. That's the data. That's real data. My 6-year-old also said, I don't have life for that. We can't stop COVID. COVID's going to be here for our eternity, probably. I'm sorry to say that.
You can't stop, sir, if you could conclude.
You guys can help me with that request that she wants her normal life back. You guys can wear masks all you want. She doesn't need to. It's silly.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bruce, I'm not going to ask you again the question of applause. It's a very simple directive. Sir, do you get it? We don't have applause here. If you want to applaud, please leave the room. I'm not going to say it again. We're not joking either, but we maintain a protocol here, and if you don't like it, I'd ask you to leave. We've been carrying on good education meetings for a long time. But I am telling you, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask that there not be any applaud, any booing. Please respect the right of everybody to speak.
Respect our rights.
I just wanted to say at the end in terms of everybody will have a right to speak. If in fact you don't abide by the protocol, then the meeting will be adjourned. You will go into executive session, we'll discuss personnel issues or other matters that are on the agenda, and then we'll come out. That's within our right. I don't want to do that. I've only done it once before because we maintain an order and a decorum. If you want to speak, please come up to the mic. It's as simple as that. There's no talking from the chairs. It's an established protocol we've had for as long as the Board of Education has existed. It is to maintain respect and decorum, which we don't want to lose.
Sir, yes, sir.
Sir, there's one more other person to do. I'm going to ask security to remove you. If that doesn't work, I'll ask the policeman to remove you. that doesn't work, if you really want to press it, then we'll adjourn the meeting. It's not asking much of you to be quiet. If you wanted to take the mic, which you did, then please come up and speak. So I'm sorry. Please name it as.
Darren Fox, Longer, 635 East Howell Street. When I look around the Can you hear me? Okay. Darren Fox, Longer, 635 East Howell Street.
Thank
I
you.
look around the room, I'm an educator, some of you know me from the district that I work. And the work that you do is challenging. And what you're hearing tonight is a lot of frustration on both sides of the issue. And we all understand that a lot of these mandates are coming from state ed, or no guidance is coming from state ed, or it's coming in the last second, or it's changing from day to day. We all understand that. And that's what you're seeing here is a bunch of frustration. And you're our elected representatives in this process. And all we're asking is for you to use common sense and the so-called science that everybody likes to throw around. Use the science, and start to push back, please. Push back on state ed. When they tell us about kids have to wear masks mandated, tell them, okay, just show us the studies. Show us one study where it shows that masks are effective. We talk about we use data all the time in schools. We're the champions of data. Use the data. Like some of the previous speakers highlighted those issues. I'm not going to reread them. All I'm going to say is that we're getting frustrated. And the reason we're getting frustrated is because we don't see that anyone is pushing back and using the actual science. There are studies after studies after studies that show masks do not make a difference. So why are we, just because I understand the government passes a mandate and now we have to follow it, but we need to push back. And we need to do whatever we need to do to push back. And we just can't keep accepting it. That because the health commissioner says that masks are effective and it's going to fight COVID. What's the goal? Is the goal zero COVID? Because that's unrealistic. It's never going to happen. Okay? People are talking about, we're talking about masks right now. Next month, we'll probably be talking about vaccines. We're not going to be able to stop that. Okay? It's going to come down. It's going to come down as a mandate. It's coming down a mandate for people who work in the districts. It's going to come down for a mandate for kids who go to school in the districts. And it's things that we need to be able to discuss together and argue without getting crazy about. And I understand why we're getting crazy about it, because we're feeling that no one is listening to us. All we're doing is being told and being treated like children, and that our opinions don't really matter. So all I guess I'm suggesting is that people who are speaking need to know that what they're saying is being heard, and at least listen to and research, and then you're going back and making decisions based on those conversations. If just sitting out there listening to us and not doing anything about it, one way or another, doesn't help anybody. Okay? And I just want to reiterate that no one is asking for no mask. What we're asking for is choice, for the decision for our own children, to make a decision that we know is the right decision for our child. If you want to have your kids wear a mask, from now until they graduate from high school, from kindergarten to high school, knock yourself out. It's a choice that I don't want for my children. Thank you very much, everyone, and I see no harm.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Terry Dalto. I live at 504 East Walnut Street. I just wanted to say that if masks work, then let those people who want their children in masks use those masks, and let the people that don't want masks to not use them. And it doesn't matter if your child's mask is on, the mask works, you're done. Okay, then you've protected your child. Same with the vaccine. Whenever that comes, if you want that for your child's protected, apparently. So there should be no mandate, because it just doesn't make sense. If the vaccine works, if the mask works, then those people who want those things can use those, and they'll apparently protect them. Okay? The other thing I want to say is that germs have been around for millions and billions of years. Not billions, but millions of years. Like this isn't the first germ like this isn't the last. Us humans have been around and have evolved throughout many, many illnesses, okay? And we're still here. We are here, and we're gonna keep surviving as a species and thriving. We can't all of a sudden decide, I don't know how we got here without masks and vaccines for this long. It's bonkers, That's all I want to say. Like I've been homeschooling now for 2 years, And if my kids hang out with other kids, unvaccinated, unmasked, and we're fine. We're absolutely fine, okay? We, you know, just live life, you know? It's unbelievable what's happening here, so that's all I want to say.
Thank you very much.
Hi, how are you? Dan Creighton, Long Beach, 37 West Hollow. I just have just a couple of simple questions, and I'll leave it open. Like, one is, do the children have to wear the mask all day at school?
8 hours.
8 hours?
No.
While they're inside the school building, they have to wear it the whole time? No, so what is it?
Must have to wear it.
So during the time that they're inside the school building, except for short dance breaks, but what we said in the plan is we will maximize their outdoor time. At least two periods a day, elementary, 1 period a day, high school, so they don't have to wear masks.
So I did ask if they were inside the building, but I got you. So the one question I have is, since we're looking at all the research and everything, I believe CDC says now that the distance that children, that people have to be separated is 3 feet, not 6 feet, correct?
If they're both masked.
Why don't we just, I mean, why can't children take off their masks at the desks and somebody 3 feet apart? I mean, if you're gonna have the children wear masks, let them wear it into the building and out of the building, maybe between classes when they have to move from one location to another. But why in the world would you have them wear them at their desks when they're 3 feet apart from each other? And if they're not 3 feet apart from each other, move the desks 3 feet apart. There's no reason we should be having this argument. CDC says 3 feet away from each other.
Only
Move the
if they're
desks.
both masked.
Excuse me?
Only if they're both masked.
What?
That's not true.
Only what?
That's not true.
3 feet, only both people are wearing masks. Otherwise.
That is not true.
Otherwise,
You should do a little research on it, and I'll confirm that I'm not wrong, but it's 3 feet apart from each other, outside, inside, 3 feet. Look it up, you'll see it, there's no reason why we should be having children masked at their desks if they're 3 feet apart from each other. If they're not 3 feet apart from each other, move them 3 feet apart from each other. It's simple.
Thank you.
Before you go, can I just ask a question? Could we check that out, Dr. Gallagher? Because it was my understanding that if we want to have students 6, well, not even, if there was no set distance to unmask all the children. But that if we had, this is my understanding, if the children are 3 feet apart and are all masked, we don't have to quarantine, we don't have to contact trace, we can have continuity of instruction and all students in the building for the whole year. And so we're in theory, could we have something to check for that and see if, I can't do their positive, okay. And Mr. Creighton, maybe you could, wherever you are, you could send us an email with the site or where you're talking about? So I haven't seen that yet.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chris Brown, that's your left way.
Sorry.
All right. I just want to reiterate the hypocrisy of all of it. It makes no sense. Even you just said the kids will have a short mask break because if COVID is going to take a break in that short time. But when we spoke earlier about several other districts coming up with a different decision, you guys get to use the same guidance, CDC, Department of Health, or whoever else. Again, it makes no sense. Because you can look at CDC data that the flu, pneumonia, RSV were more detrimental and hurtful things to children than this COVID. It's just completely ridiculous. And fortunately, my children are under 5, but the next year they'll be able to deal with this issue. It happens to be around that time. That time might be vaccines, but none of it makes sense. And I don't know how you came up with a decision like several of the districts came up with the opposite decision. Is there a reason for that? They did not use the same
I think I need some.
public health officials. I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. I can't account for it. I know before, and it was the previous was that Council County did come up with a mask optional. I suspect
that they had more community pressure or more united community, whereas our community was 50-50 on what their desire
Can you
was.
provide that, that is 50/50?
We're not 50/50. Can you release the grass?
Sure.
We're not 50/50.
Taking comments from outside, if you want to come up, please come to the mic.
No, she's lying, that's not 50/50.
Sarah, please, please.
It's 48-40 with additional others. It's not a percent because the other categories mostly were, masks mandatory, but with some other qualifications.
Right, so 48-40 is a big difference. A lot of line. You guys don't get the right information.
Hey,
48.8%
I'm
too.
sorry, you're not at the mic. Please respect the gentleman at the mic.
Well, you guys are right.
Okay. Thanks.
I am Andrew Wolf, 241 East Broadway. Dr. Gallagher, with regard to that email survey, I don't believe that it was really anywhere near 50/50. And here's why. So I checked the link, so my wife got the email and so did I. And I checked to see if perhaps they had a slightly different URL. You know, sometimes when you click the link, each one is unique. So that you can be sure that people aren't voting more than once. And they were the same. So there are other ways to, qualify online survey things as being unique votes. But I have a strong feeling that this is a situation where people can vote multiple times. And my feeling about the sort of people that are driven by fear and hysteria on the COVID situation is that those are the kind of people that would vote as many times as they can. So can you tell me, were there any sort of controls to see if people had voted more than once or if all votes were unique?
We can't identify that specifically without limiting the email response to our logins to network. But any responses in the comment section that were through duplicates, we can.
Okay.
Look, and again, we weren't looking for a strict number. It wasn't a majority rule situation. We were looking for the pulse of the community. I can also tell you that we received hundreds of emails in the past few weeks, split fairly down the middle. I'm not going to argue with you 100%.
Sure.
But we are not a united community in our perspective on this.
What does that mean?
That not everyone feels the same.
No, I can't.
So why does the one side get the best? Why does one side win?
If you have any, the gentleman at the mic, if you have any other questions, please, hopefully they'll allow you to speak.
You can't hear what you guys are saying. This is so insane.
Please, let the gentleman speak.
Based on what we're seeing in this room and based on my experience of talking to neighbors, I don't really believe that the neighborhood is split 50/50. I feel that after our deaths. Another question, has any consideration been given towards not asking very young students?
We consider everything, but at the end of the day, not being medical professionals, we defer to every major medical professional.
You need to provide those studies for us also.
Not studies, groups.
But also keep in mind that these days, if a doctor or a medical group were to speak against this consensus, they are subject to extreme ridicule. So, can't believe everything. Another question, of the 31 students who were positive in this district, do you know if any of them were actually sick?
I do.
All right, because it's quite possible for people to show as positive and be absolutely fine. And it seems unreasonable to make a decision based on something like that without knowing if they're actually sick. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gould. Thank you for your patience. Anybody else?
Univest 256 East Walnut Street. My only thing is that if if it was this dangerous, I don't think any of us would be here right now. You know, I don't think school would be open if the virus or whatever it is this dangerous. And, I just think it should be the parents' option whether the kids wear the mask or not. You know, if they want their kid to have a mask, you know, give a kid a mask and they'll wear it. That's all I got.
For coming up. Anybody else? Yeah, I just want to show of hands on the others, attempt to speak. Okay, thank you.
Jeremy Todd, 250. I'm just curious if you guys have updated your health and visit the last 18 months. Okay, is that better? Have you guys updated your health and phys ed curriculum in the last 18 months?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Well, it's apparent that this is a public health concern and that the majority of people who are dying from this is a lifestyle disease. And like the gentleman before stated, about 80% of the children that die from this are obese. So I'm wondering if there's any upgrades that you guys have made to improve the health of our kids. That seems to be a way to prevent deaths moving forward.
Yeah, I can tell you that we are looking at our nutritional upgrades and planning a nutrition campaign this year, and always trying to look at better ways to instill healthy habits in our children.
What about physical activity?
And plus, I don't think last fall, we were one of the first districts to have a sports activity program after school in terms of that. And I suspect it was very, very successful in terms of cross sports and across grade level. So we made an effort to engage the kids because to answer your point, we did recognize the importance of physical activity, from both the physical and the mental perspective.
Right. Well, I was very disappointed last year in seeing that we had an hour, maybe, every week, maybe, that's organized, and to walk past the playground and watching the kids sit there multiple times when there's things they could have been doing. It was just very disheartening to see given multiple time.
I think points well taken, and if in fact that the schools do follow through in terms of the outdoor breaks, then hopefully that would run into that situation. Thank you. Thanks.
Also, I just want to echo the concerns of other people about the mandatory vaccine. It seems absurd at this point, and the slippery slope is that's the next stop. And I think that's a major concern of everybody in here. And I would like to know if it's 50-50 on a vaccine level, what would you guys endorse?
Once again,
Public vote is 50-50.
Once again, I would go with medical decision in terms of the doctors. I would go with medical consultants. Because of that.
That's probably unfortunate. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Lenny Hanau, 22 Pennsylvania Avenue. Just wanted to say thank you again. I know that you guys have a very difficult job. My father was a superintendent educator for 35 years, and I know that these decisions are not easy. You're never going to make anyone happy. But I also do agree with making the masks optional. I don't know what's going on at home for so many of these families to be like, no, you don't need to wear, or yes, you do, and that's also going to cause so much, distance between our children and the feeling of segregation when this person has a mask and this one, mom, how come I have to wear one and he doesn't, and blah, 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 we already have to deal with that. So I know there's no perfect answer, but I wanted to ask, all of the summer sports were thriving. My two stepsons are in football, lacrosse, baseball, this and that, off each other, sweating on top of each other, boys, right? Were there any studies anticipated for the summer activities to see, hey, look, they're on top of each other, sweating all day. Yes, they're outside, but granted, during the school year, my sons were in, indoor football training and lacrosse training and coming back fine. So what is the difference when it comes to being inside the classroom?
I'm not aware of studies that compare inside sports to inside classrooms. Is that your question?
No, just like as a community, did we consider that kind of like, let's see how the summer goes with all these sports? Yeah. Or is that the 31 students that were kids that were positive? Is that a part of that, or that's just what as part of that? Okay. Another, piggybacking off of what the woman said about theater, I'm an actress, and theater, for me, obviously, in the arts is very important. Again, my stepsons are in every single sport, up each other's butt, sweating, nasty. What's the difference when it comes to theater? I know we're inside, and yes, that is the big difference, but that is so important and such a creative outlet for the students when they feel so trapped. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I feel a lot of anxiety even coming in here. It's like, oh my God, my mask, where's my mask? And even if we go into a place that requires masks, and my stepson's mask is down here, I'm like, oh my God, put your mask on, we're gonna die. Like, there's a lot of anxiety going on. But, ultimately the choice should be on us, and especially when it comes to the arts, something that, is a weight lifted off the kids' shoulders and something that they do enjoy. What's the difference with a school concert when they're playing the flute, blowing blowing into the person next to them's face? How are we gonna incorporate that with the arts? Because sports is just a free-for-all right now, kind of.
As I said to Ms. Lucasio, we intend to try to give our art students as normal an experience as we can as well.
Great, thank you for your time.
Could I ask a question? I guess it was my understanding, I asked this very question, because I was wondering why kids progress and not do other things. And I was told that it was the amount of time that you were face to face. Like if you're sitting in a classroom, you're face to face with other people for more than 15 minutes. That has nothing to do with it?
No, that is the basis for it. It also has to do with the amount of projection that students are doing in various arts activities. But there are other ways to mitigate that. But not more. You can use bigger areas really outside the student initiative. So there are other ways that we can alleviate the time that they're close together.
This is time to vote. Policy is that we only want to comment, but Nick, please, be brief.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to piggyback off of what Mr. Warren said. I think she made a very good point. I rested my entire life not trying to
Can hear you.
You can't hear me?
No.
So I wrestled my entire life, and I think that Ms. Verona just made an excellent point. And it's when you're in a classroom, these kids are wearing masks, but they're separated at 3 feet. The teachers all the way at the other end. There's really not too much talk in between the children themselves. But when you're wrestling, literally your face is right here against somebody else's face. So for someone to tell me that it's more, if the situation could be worse for a child to be in a classroom and the teacher's 20 feet away over a course of 45 minutes, than for me to be 2 inches away from my opponent's face for 15, 20, 25 minutes. And wrestling practice goes an hour and a half, just depending on who the coaches are. It's ridiculous. So I do my son wrestles. I do want there very much to be a wrestling program. But I'm hoping that we can find out a way. I'm hoping that we can find a way to try and make this year's school year better for our children. Because I think that's what they're our future. They really are. And they're not happy.
Thank you. Okay, business time. I guess we should move this resolution up so we can vote on publicly. We don't want to keep people waiting for a regular vote. Well, I just want to say, I let him speak, and the rule is you're given 3 minutes. So I let him speak, I'll let you speak, and that will be it. And then it'll go publicly on the resolution.
You guys heard us speak again. We brought up extremely valid, intelligent points that I can't imagine in your mind you can sit there and refute it and say that it doesn't make sense. You're dying over there in the corner with your mask on. You've been here for 40 minutes. Every single one of you has touched your face multiple times while we're having this meeting. As soon as we walk out of here, you're probably going to rip the mask off your face. The kids are going to be in masks from 7 a.m. when they get on the bus stop till 4 p.m. And that's not a fantasy. That's reality because we've already done it 18 months. And then after listening to everyone speak about how we were all free to do whatever we wanted, with whomever we wanted, all summer, it's a sacrilege for you to say that in 2 weeks, we're going to put this charade on, and our kids are going to understand it, and we're going to be okay with it. Please, talk to us. Like people said, you do not have to be beholden to the leaders upstate or some nefarious health expert. We are just as intelligent and competent to make a decision in this building with these adults, neighbors, friends, right here, right now. Not this is it, this is what we're doing, but an engagement, not just listen, but engage us. Because things are going to go horribly astray if we keep going down this insane rabbit hole. You have to admit, it's banana land. It's crazy. Please talk to us.
Thank you.
But we're all career people. We're all under
We understand that. We
We all have
understand.
masters and bachelors. You know.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to move the resolution on council. Okay.
This is Dylan, can you read the resolution?
I'm sorry, I found it. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the reopening plan developed for the Long Beach City School District for the 2021-22 school year.
May I have a motion?
Motion.
May I have a second? Any discussion?
I have a comment, but
Discussion, ma'am?
So, I know that there's a lot of people upset outside in the crowd in general, and it's been extremely frustrating over the last however many months. Feeling for the yellow bit, some people have taken it worse than others, it's been impacting everyone in different ways. But just, so speaking for myself on the idea of wearing masks right now, what happened was that we got news that there's going to be a mandate that we're going to be asking our students and our teachers to be wearing masks inside the whole day. And I would find that it's critical that when we say we have to have other people doing something, and then we don't practice it ourselves. So while I may not completely agree with wearing a mask from 6 feet away from someone else, I'm going to say that we're following the rules that other people have to do it, especially our children.
It's not a rule.
Not a rule.
Please, who's speaking, could you let him please speak?
Not a rule. It's going to be a rule.
No, it's not. Right now, it's not a rule.
David.
It's going to be a rule. So it doesn't.
It's going to be a rule if we let it and we just.
All right, please.
So
Pinto?
yes, so I think it's going to be a rule when the governor comes down with a mandate on this. And it doesn't bother me as much as it would bother others to wear a mask. Do I wear a mask everywhere I go? No, but as a person in the district, I'm wearing the mask now because I would have to expect others to do it.
Is your job on the line?
Yeah.
Is your job on the line?
Please, Mr. Pinto, just make your point for political vote. Now we've got an order, you have an order discussion, please let him make his point. Not an open forum here, there are rules and procedures.
The point is that I'm wearing the mask now because I would have to expect other students to be doing it, and not because.
You're an adult.
I am an adult, and I have
Not a
to wear
kid.
a mask. So, that's it, I just want to say thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
I just would like to say one thing.
Please.
Yep, so if you guys could just let me speak, please. I just want to share with you guys, a lot of you have said we're not listening, and I can definitely speak for myself. And I know that each one of the board members up here, as well as the superintendent, we have discussed this ad nauseum for months. You're all correct. This has been a long, drawn-out process. And I was not on the board last year, so I don't know what those discussions look like. I can only speak for now. I can say personally, I have 3 children as well in this district. I also have a child in special ed. So I understand that some children are going to have a much harder time with this than others. That said, we are listening to you. I appreciate each one of you coming out. When I ran for Board of Education,
It was my hope that more community members would get involved. This is how I started getting involved, sitting where all of you are. It's important that you share your voices, and we're not listening. At this point, we're making a decision based on all of the information we have, and none of us are saying you're crazy. None of us are saying we disagree with you. And you're right, I'm hot. I'm hot on this mess right now. I am. I am not naive to what we're asking our students to do, but we also are charged with educating our students the best way we can. And at this point, hold on. As I sit up here as a Board of Ed member, and each one of us, I'm the superintendent, we're making decisions on how we can keep all of your students in school as much as possible, as safe as possible, and we're listening to the entire community. And it is my hope, and again, I think everyone agrees in this room, that this will change. This is fluid and it's not forever. And we're hoping to see that happen, and you have to just bear with us. But right now, as Mr. Pinto did say, we are also getting direction now from the state. So regardless of what we were going to decide one way or the other, that was going to go in that direction. I know it's not what you guys want to hear, and you don't have to like me for it, but I feel, I want to respond to you all. You're not speaking to a wall. And I've been where you were, and it's incredibly frustrating as a community member when you share your thoughts, and then the board just stares at you blankly. So I've committed to you that I would not do that, and so I'm responding, and I'm asking you not to yell back out, because that just is inflammatory. It doesn't make anything change. It's not going to change where I sit right now. So I appreciate you listening and not yelling. I really do. Thank you. And that's all I have to say.
Any other discussion? Laura?
I also would like to reiterate that there seems to be a perception out there that we're not listening. And I know for myself, we received information next time we spoke, where people spoke here. We received innumerable emails. I read more studies about masks than I ever thought I would. And I'm not saying anybody's crazy. I see both sides. But for every study that you have that says that masks don't work, there's a study that says masks do work. So excuse me, I'm speaking now. I let you speak, so now it's my turn. So it's not that we're not listening. It's not. I don't think anybody out here is crazy. And we are listening and we are doing the research. And there are times when it comes down the way you want it to come down, and there's times when the decision comes down not the way we want it to come down. But that doesn't mean that we're not listening, and that we're not looking into this independently, and that we're not making a decision based on, we are your elected representatives. You have asked us, you have elected us to make these decisions. So we have to use our best knowledge. Not being a health professional, but as the person I am, I'm being asked to make the best decision that I can make.
Are you finished, Ms. Rona? All right.
I would just like to repeat what my other fellow trustees have said. On August 10th, we came here and we listened to you, and everything you said, we discussed, we researched, and we thought about. We care about everybody as a community. We care about the safety and education of all of our students. Also, I would like to add that I also sat in those seats for many years, advocating and yelling at the microphone. I have children, I listen, I have children in the district as well.
I can't understand what word you're saying. I don't know if that's better.
I'd like to make an observation.
Well, anyway.
Please, ma'am, she's speaking.
So I want to tell you just one more thing. I understand that you all have passions. I get that, and I respect all of them. If you feel that way, then what you need to do is to continue to advocate for all, if you like, the governor, and you can start working on that section. Because when she said the mask mandates for schools, those are the mandates we have to follow.
Well, I'll keep telling them yes, like you guys do right now.
All right.
Tell them to put them up.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, put it for a vote. Ms. Hayes?
I agree.
Pinto?
piece of discussion I wanted before I was interrupted, so I'm gonna say it now. The objective that we're trying to do is to bring a holistic approach. I understand people are talking about, we want to bring better nutrition, better physical fitness involved, follow science, follow trends. And our objective is to maintain safe continuity of instruction for our students and our staff. We're not just talking about just wearing masks, we're taking other protective measures, but this ventilation and distance.
We don't care about that. We care about masks.
Dude, please.
No.
Okay, any other discussion?
Okay, for masks, I'm here about masks.
Mr. Pinto?
I vote no.
Help them get the mask off?
Mr. Pinto, are you finished with your?
Yes, I vote no.
You vote no? Yes. Ms. Brown? Ms. Conway?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
We gotta vote for.
Okay. We are reopening the schools according to the plan as described.
You realize that, you guys realize that you.
We'll continue with the meeting. If you don't want to take the rest of the meeting, we ask that you leave quietly.
Said you were going home 2 hours ago.
Okay, we're going to proceed with the agenda. You're welcome to stay.
You guys are okay with this?
Demobilization announcements. Questions and comments from the public on tonight's agenda only.
Just a question. I don't know if we all heard who voted what. You can share one more time.
What we did,
No, I'm saying I didn't hear who voted what. That's all I'm saying.
we four trustees voted for the reopening plan as presented by the superintendent,
Sam said no one voted.
and one voted no. Okay? Okay. Please. Can I have approval of the minutes for the executive session of the meeting of August 221? May I have a motion? May I have a second? Any discussion? Ms. Pace?
I'm gonna ask you.
Mr. Pinto? Ms. Brown? Ms. Conway?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, presentations from the superintendent?
And I'd like to ask the board to consider items 2 through 5.
I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Clerk,
Yes.
staff question?
Okay, Ms. Pace? Items 2 through 5, we're voting on, no discussion? Ms. Pace?
I'm sorry.
We're voting on items 2 through 5?
Yes, I vote yes.
Yes,
Sorry.
Mr. Pinto?
Yes.
Ms. Verona? Ms. Conway?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Have a question?
No, you do not ask the question until the end of the meeting, sir. Proceeding as we are.
Why can't we discuss this back and forth with the people that you are responding to?
Okay, so Dr. Gallagher, you continue.
Item 67, require no action, is on meetings and policies. I'd like to board to consider 8 through 14.
8 through 14, have a motion? Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Ms. Pace?
Yes.
Ms. Pinto?
Yes.
Ms. Verona? Ms. Conway?
Yes.
And I vote yes. What event additional to all business today?
I'd just like to ask for an update on construction. Mr. Trio.
Good evening. Construction's moving along. We're hoping to have all the goals that get set for the beginning of the summer to be reached before school starts. The weather caused a little bit of some delays, but it still should interfere with our overall goals and getting everything done that we're anticipated doing at the beginning of the summer before September 9th.
So everything's, I'm sorry, did you say everything was on schedule?
I said that there were some weather delays with all the rain that we had over the summer, but none that's going to interfere with us reaching our goals that we had set at the beginning of the summer before school starts on September 9th. So, for example, in terms of the middle school auditorium roof, there was some delays in completing it, but it will all be complete by the time school starts. The traffic work over the complex, there was some little weather delays, but all of the work that we had set out to accomplish this summer will be finished by the time school starts.
Thank you.
I just have a question. Regarding transportation, every year during the start of the year, goes a challenge with transportation. It's hard with, just the new routes, just new things moving around. I just want to make sure we put extra emphasis this year, as always, on making sure that all our students' transportation is not up to work out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, bus passes have been sent out, routes are getting done, tonight, I believe, we're ready, yes. Some bids, to get some contracts, to do some additional work, have already been done, and, we're in a good place for the start of the school year, even in light of all the driver shortages that are happening across the country. So, we're doing our best, and, we hope to get off to a good start.
One question on that, I know we use that, the app to make sure that out of district, school transportation is worked out. Have you had any issues with parents who deny or anything else like that? For their, out of district school transportation?
Are you asking if we denied any, parent who put in an application?
No, I would have any issues with TransFind or app that we've had in the past, confirming that students are making sure they get there.
No, I don't think so. I think we've been happy with the route finder. Yeah, TransFind is a company, route finder is the name of the application. It seems to be working well. What was approved today was the upgrade to the new platform and also to the parent app where parents can track the student, their child bus on their phone.
Great, thank you.
I have a couple of quick things. When are we anticipating that we're going to be closing out the books out in the past year so that we'll know if and what our operating surplus is?
So this is going to hopefully by the end of September, I believe is what they said at the planning meeting when we met last time, when they would be completing the financial statements, still continuing with the audit. But I think by the end of September, early October, we'll know what that number is. And then I think they're planning to come into the November meeting to present their findings.
I seem to remember that we had those numbers before the auditor returned to the fall. But I could be.
Right, so we should have those numbers by the beginning of October, and the auditor will talk to you about the November meeting.
Okay, great.
I mean, there's a chance we may have it by the end of September, but they had said in September.
Okay, great. And also, have we had any update from the county about the bus counters? No, nothing. We just have to like for it again. Thank you.
Yeah, just really quick, just welcome to all the teachers and look forward to a great.
There's just a question of the SCA. Wish everybody a happy and healthy school year. And look, the association. Jared, I'd like to take a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
What's going to happen is
We're going to adjourn for, I don't know how long, I hope it's going to be brief. And then we will come back and officially adjourn the meeting. You're welcome to stay, but I don't think it's worth your while, but it's your choice. We will come in after we discuss the matter. We'll come in and officially adjourn the meeting. But for all intents and purposes, the meeting is over. So thank you for coming out, and we hope it's going to be a great school year. And we just put it to a vote in terms of the motion to go into exec.
Yes,
Okay, Nicole?
I wanted to say something first, if you don't mind, really fast. For the new teachers in the room, if those of you are still here and you don't plan on staying, I intended on coming this morning to your orientation. I had a really bad migraine, so I just wanted to welcome you as well. I apologize for not being there, but I look forward to meeting all of you at some point, hopefully, or seeing if you come back to another board that meeting. So please feel free, if you see me around the community or here to introduce yourselves, and welcome to the Long Beach School District. We're happy to have you. So thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, so I got a second, and we'll take a vote on it in terms of the space.
Yes, I will.
Pinto? Yes. Rona? Mr. Conway?
Yes.
And I vote yes. I just wanted to thank you for taking care of Mike for the hearing. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you for the great mics.